Got another big NFC West game coming up. In fact, the Cardinals have 4 in their final 7, and 2 of the next 3 are against the Seahawks. So who better to talk to than the co-host of Brock and Sock on Seattle Sports? Brock Huard joins us on the Arizona Sports Line. Brock, thanks for the time, man. What's going on?
Look at you two. Not only down the line. I'm looking at you two. Look at Cool Hand Luke. Look at Wolf. Just studs.
How you doing, Brock?
I'm good. I'm doing.
Where are you right now, buddy? Is this?
Oh, I'm home. Yeah,
you're
I'm
home. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm home. I got the fireplace behind me. I'm just at home.
Nice.
Getting ready, just studying away, trying to figure out how in the world LJ Collier is making plays for the Cardinals.
Oh, my goodness.
Gannon has these guys at 6-4 and a top. We had Gambo jump on our morning show. That's always an adventure. I'm also trying to still figure out some of the things he had to say. So yeah, man, doing good.
Well, let's start with your team. I mean, that's a big win over San Francisco. How close were the Seahawks to kind of being on the ropes if they lost that game? And in your mind, what turned it around?
Yeah, that was a must win. So coming off the bye, and that's always a little dangerous, which I think makes Arizona dangerous because it just feels like this year, as much as any year in the NFL, like, man, when you get that extra rest and you get a bye week and you just kind of get a reset, a lot of teams have taken advantage of it. And the Seahawks did. They were coming off their bye, and they absolutely had to have it. And San Fran flying back across the country from Tampa. Kittle's banged up. He's out. Got a bunch of guys that missed practice, Bosa and Trent Williams, that sucked it up and tried to play. And, like, man, you have to. If you're Seattle, you have to have this game. If you got any real shot of a playoff or NFC West conversation, you got to get this one because San Francisco owned them a month prior up in Seattle. Everybody has. They've lost 4 in a row up there at home, been better out on the road. So, yeah, Luke, there was a lot of intensity. That felt like a must-win game. They didn't say that, but many of us around the program certainly did.
So, Brock, go ahead and handicap the NFC West for me right now as you see it. Your general thoughts on the Arizona Cardinals being 6-4 and everyone else in the division being 5-5.
Yeah, I think just all flawed. And I think that's why they're sitting there, where they're all sitting there. So watching the Rams, Stafford and Kupp and those guys still super dynamic and dangerous, but they're flawed at the line of scrimmage on offense and on the back end of their secondary. Arizona's flawed because of a lot of injuries, and they don't really rush and impact the passer, and yet they've got other dynamic pieces. And looking forward to hearing from you guys what Kyler has done to really resurrect himself. He looks and feels like just a different guy. 49ers, I just mentioned. You listen to we played a segment this morning from a bunch of the callers down there in San Fran, and they're done. They're just done. They're toast. They're over. They're old. He's beat up. He's injured. He's hurt. And, we watched that in Seattle. I mean, we watched how it was actually down there on a Thursday night in the desert where Richard Sherman has an Achilles, where Cam's career basically ends. Cliff Averill gets, ends. Like, it father time, man, it runs really fast. And when it jumps on your back, we watched that period that felt like it could go forever come to an end pretty quickly. So I think you find all the teams in the division do have, I'm not going to say a fatal flaw, but they're not Buffalo, they're not Detroit, they're not Kansas City, They're not Baltimore, they're not Pittsburgh, because they certainly have a more clear flaw than some of the better teams.
We're talking to Brock Huard. Brock, Pete Carroll was there, it felt like forever, and now you make a switch over to Mike McDonald, and it I think if you're in San Francisco or LA or Phoenix, you're looking at the Seahawks saying, okay, eventually they're going to drop off for a while, right? And they haven't. And here you are now 5-5. What are the Seahawks good at this year? Like, what has been their biggest strength?
They got good young players, not too different from you guys. Maybe not the most household names out there, but, to me, like the final 7 weeks of the season, I said it going into this season, they kept John Schneider, the GM. They kept the personnel department, which is unique. Usually when a coach is fired, the GM is fired, you kind of reset and start the whole thing over. Jody Allen, the owner, Paul Allen's sister, decided not to do that and wanted the culture and wanted the stability and the structure of what John has built and drafted and developed, and they like a lot of pieces of that. And this season, Luke, really in these final 7 weeks is who goes from good to great. Of their young players, Devin Witherspoon has flashes of greatness, a lot of Buda Baker to him, an igniter, just exponential energy for everybody around him, can be a great player. Boye Mafe is a good player. K9's a good player. Jackson Smith-Njigba the last 2 weeks has looked like a top 10 receiver in the game. So these young players, and that frankly is what happened in 2010 and 2011. This guy named Richard Sherman, this guy named Cam Chancellor, this guy named KJ Wright, 5th round picks, 4th round picks, Bobby Wagner, Russell Wilson, like these young dudes went from good to great. And with it came a world championship and nearly a second. So that's kind of the hope, and they do have good young talent. Now, can they take that step from good to great? The final 7 weeks will determine a lot of it.
You know, it's amazing, Brock, when I look at the offense, there's talent all over the place. Oh, my goodness. There really is. And there has been for a long, long time. And it reminds me that your offensive line is also very important right now.
Yes.
Talk to me about this offensive line and where they're at in their development.
They have been the fatal flaw. So when I say, like, where are the flaws, and I pointed out all the other teams, I didn't look in the mirror and tell you that really the fatal flaw for a bunch of years has been that O-line that has just been – and they've tried and drafted, and they've signed guys. They've not really spent big money in free agency at that position. Maybe that changes. But getting Abe Lucas back, he's a difference maker. He came back last week, and he's a really good player. He was drafted the same year as Charles Cross, the left tackle, who's a really good player. And the belief was, man, we have 2 bookend guys that can be here a long time. And Abe had a catastrophic patella injury that set him back for a year and a half. So getting him back helped. They had a midseason retirement of a player, which is unique.
Yes.
It opened the door for Olu Oluwatimi, who played a great game. According to Pro Football Focus, in fact, was the second highest graded Seahawk on the entire team on Sunday against San Fran, and you saw that and you felt that. So hopefully those 2 guys can, for the Seahawks, stabilize the situation. They did on Sunday. It normalized it, so Geno wasn't running for his life, so K9 wasn't getting hit in the backfield right when he got the ball. And if those guys can play the way they did Sunday for the next 7 weeks, they will have every chance to be in the hunt for this division when it's all said and done.
We're talking to Brock Huard. Brock, for the Cardinals, Kyler Murray has been – he had to take over a couple games. For the most part, he's just kind of been in control this season. When he's had to take over, he's been able to more often than not. But what has it been like with Geno Smith? I mean, we all saw him make that huge play against the Niners on Sunday. But overall, how has his season gone?
Yeah, Geno is the most clutch quarterback in the NFL with the game on the line. 7 touchdowns, game-winning overtime, fourth quarter, game-winning drives. That's the best in the league the last 2 years. When he gets in those moments, like that hard-headedness and the stubbornness, and at times, his emotion that can play with him instead of, in a negative way, man, he channels it. And like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go and get it done. And he's done it a bunch these last 2 years. Yeah, offensively, the challenge with them is I watch them so close. And if you were to say to me, what's their identity? Who are they? I don't know. I don't know. It feels, and I think you guys have struggled. And Wolf, at times I'll be driving around in the market, different areas, and listening. And I know that's a big thing you believe in. Like, what do you hang your hat on? What are you?
Yeah.
What are you? Are you a gap team? Are you an outside zone team? Are you a zone read team? Are you a spread team? Are you an I formate? Like, give me something to hang my hat on. And first-year coordinator Ryan Grubb, still 10 games into this thing, I don't think you can define that. And that's been, some of that's been the O-line, no question about it. But I think hanging your hat on something will also be important here down the stretch.
It just seems so weird to me, Brock, to look at Seattle and from a numeric perspective, to look at these stats and suddenly to look at the offensive line and in the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, and to see you in the bottom third in terms of rush defense and run offense. That blows my mind because I don't think of Seattle, obviously. I think of the Seahawks, and you think physicality in the line of scrimmage.
That's right. Now, the defense is shored up the last couple weeks. So, again, like and John did this and Pete did this the first time around in 10 and 11. And I want to say, like, in 2010, they did, like, 400 transactions, or 2010 and 11. Like, it was absurd. Like, it was every day. They're turning over a rock, bringing somebody in, moving on from somebody, bringing somebody in. So it's not uncommon, and it didn't really shock us this year. Although to do it midseason, to move on from both linebackers, right?
Yeah.
They brought in on 1 year kind of flyers to see, are they fits? Nope, not fits. To bring in a center that then midseason kind of retires.
Still blows my mind.
Yeah, and moves on. So, they're turning it over a little bit. But I would say this, Wolf, like the last 2 weeks, the Rams like to run it. The Rams couldn't run it. Christian McCaffrey can run it. The 49ers with a healthy line couldn't run it. Like, these last couple weeks with the addition
That's
of
got to
these,
be encouraging.
Yeah, these linebackers, they've been a difference because the front guys have largely done their part. It's been the second and third level that have been a little bit leaky, and I know that if Arizona's going to come up and win, it's what the Giants did, it's what Buffalo did, it's what every team did to win those games is they ran the ball first. And they do that Sunday, Arizona's going to be 7-4.
Brock, thanks so much
Man,
for this.
I appreciate
I guess
you,
we'll be
buddy.
seeing you a lot in the next couple weeks.
Oh, yes, we will. yes, we will. Maybe we'll have to bother one of you two to come on our show because I think we can only handle Gambo once. I think that was a one. He dropped his full Italian name on us. Have you guys, has he done that with you guys?
Not recently.
Yeah,
Okay.
no.
Yeah.
Hey, Brock, thank you,
was
man.
something.
Appreciate
You bet,
your
boys.
time, buddy.
Thanks, Brock.
God bless.
Anytime.
That's Brock Huard joining us right there on the Arizona Sports Line.
Thanks for watching Wolf and Luke. Tap to see more and click the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.